Bueno, un poco después de este debate tan interesante que hemos tenido, vamos a ir ahora un poco más a los casos prácticos, ejemplos de aplicaciones de la IA a la música.
Applications of
veremos
artificial intelligence in music.
En este momento,
We're going to be discussing 4 cases. I don't know if you would like to display the information about the different examples. We'll start with Back to the Future 1.0, which was a show presented at the Barcelona Festival in 2022 and in the Grec 2022 and another gathering sponsored by the Barcelona CREA. We'll hear from an artist and an engineer, a technology expert who will be sharing the presentation of the practical cases, an excellent duo, which is something we want to promote, right, in artificial. Things happen only in collaboration, in relationship. So Matthew, who is the program director of the IT Online BA from London, he's a musician and also a programmer. He develops his own artificial intelligence systems, and we also have Carlas Marigó, piano player, creator, teacher at the SMUC here in Barcelona and the Liceo. So welcome to both of you, and thank you.
So, let's start. Okay. Hoy vamos a presentaros esta idea que era el Back.
So today we'll be presenting the concept Back to the Future, which stems from a proposal in Artificia, which is allowing a collision between tradition and modernity. Before we start with this rather random, improvised presentation, because it's our world, you know, improvisation, so we'll ask ourselves questions. There are 2 ways of starting. This is like a magic trick. We'll start perhaps by sharing a few sounds or by showing you the inner details of the machine, because when you see the inner details of the machine, it seems easy, but when you see the outcome, it sounds quite magic. So we'll start with music. I will improv now for you a little bit for 5 minutes, not to take all of the time that we've been given, which is 30 minutes, by the way. And yeah, this is for you to understand how we can engage with the machine. The software used is the same mark used before, with a few variations that we'll tell you more about. The presentation will be screened afterwards. Now only sound.
Thank you. Is your software working there? So, yeah. So the thing here, so... Perdona, que lío con lo de los lenguajes, ¿no? En realidad.
Oh my god. The language thing is going to be complicated. Maybe one day, as I think you will be reading me, this will change. There will be no verbal communication anymore. So we would like to tell you a little bit more about the project and about the software used to develop it. And for you to understand what we were screening, I'm not allowing you to speak.
I'm speaking.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, so I guess we wanted to tell the story about how we went about...
Closer.
Yeah, let me just do this. Very loud in my ear. Okay, there we go. You can hear me now. Yeah. It's great to be here. And Carlos is a huge talent, and it was really exciting when Carlos decided to use our technology as part of his Bach to the Future project. So it's very exciting because when you are an AI researcher or a computer scientist, it's often very difficult to get people to use your software in a meaningful way. So to get them to really engage with it and try and do something. And I don't know if anyone knows about Francois Pachet, who's the sort of one of, we work with him on research projects, but he's one of the lead researchers at Spotify. And he always said that the test of when an AI music system is good enough is when a musician is prepared to use it to do their work and to say, yeah, that's my work, okay. And that for me is really interesting. And so we got to the point where we made a system which he was willing to use. And I think part of that is about making systems which are not just hidden in a data center and like ChatGPT, okay, you put your text in and then it goes in and then it comes back, okay, but you have no control over that machine. You can't install that on your machine. You can't see the data, anything, right? So the difference is this system, it's simpler, but it's still a sequence prediction engine, just like we were talking about before. It's the same, it's a statistical model that it learns what you play a sequence of notes and it models that sequence and then it can generate more notes that are similar. Okay, but the difference is because I'm a musician as well, I work with music technology, I know what the workflow is. I know that real musicians who are producing music, they use certain software, they have ways of working. They like DAWs, they use Cubase or Logic or Ableton, whatever, right? And they use plugins. So we're like, yeah, let's just make it a plugin. And so we made sure it's harder for us. It's technically more difficult to make it a plugin. So it's not just some weird code somewhere that nobody can see. It's a plugin. It's open source, and we handed it over to Carlos, and it works on his machine. And we're like, okay, what are you going to do? So my question, I'll hand back, is: so we made this thing and we handed it over. What did you do when you got it? What did you do first?
Yeah, actually, I can show that because I recorded some videos that I prepared for you. So, creo que...
So, it has been said before, we met first in his living room with his piano, and then, well, when Mark played, the piano would speak back to you. So I launched 2 research pathways. The first one was trying to teach the machine, and we'll share a couple of clips about it. Perhaps it's the right time to screen clip number 1, please. There we go.
It's not going to resolve, but always is ending on the dominant, so. Fuck. So, it was very amazing because, yeah, of course, for me it was like 2 things. One thing is, it was like teaching a child, And of course, I needed more data, I needed more information to teach the machine how to resolve on harmony. Of course, we could do that. And actually, you showed me that you could use MIDI files put through a DAW and using that to teach the machine. So I could do that, but I was obsessed on using the machine live. So I was obsessed on playing with the machine, learning with the machine. So I was recording myself working with the machine like half a year. But I didn't reach the point I wanted, so that's actually the end of the process, and I decided that he can learn some harmony, but of course there is some rules that she or it cannot done. Could we go to the second video, which is something similar, but with melody? So it's fragmenting my melody, but it's beautiful at some point. So this is something that changed me. So the thing that changed me was not the machine, was not what it was doing, but how I listened to the machine, like if it was human. So this approach to the machine was something interesting for me, like how we listen that. And that is something that I took for the show we prepared, Back to the Future, because it's not about only the goal or the result, it's knowing that there is a machine there and you're listening as if it was human. That was interesting for me. And actually,
So you changed, so the design of the Back to the Future concert included the concept that it was a machine, so you include that as part of the design of the performance, that it's,
And actually there is more videos where I did something like I showed you, that is going smooth with the machine, trying to be with the machine, like on the same level, listening to the machine and going through. So basically, that for the show, that was the music part. But actually, we had an idea, which was, like, I think, more interesting. So now we can talk about the show. This was the process. On the show, on the Back to the Future show, what we did was not playing only with the machine. It was not only a concert, but it was a show with dancers, with words. So we were interacting with the machine, using the sound of the machine to recreate and create our own choreographies. So it was not only a musical show, and the goal of that was to be able to integrate the machine inside our music group as it was one more. Not something like experimental, but with the result that actually half of the audience that was there, I think there is some that was there, like Ramon, there were a lot of people there, that not Ramon, but a lot of people asked me, but what is the machine doing? I think you don't need the machine at all to go with this concert. I think you can play whatever, and it's gonna be okay. Yes, but you don't know what the machine created for you in this concert. That was the thing. That was actually the success for me, that it was so integrated that, yes, a lot of work. I need to show you. Can I show you a video, or you want to say something?
I want to ask, maybe I can ask my question after the video, but I was going to ask, so to turn it a bit more technical, because maybe there's people here who are into music production and that kind of thing. It's maybe worth knowing at this point that, as I said, it's a plugin, but it also works as a standalone program. And Carlos was able to integrate it into his kind of performance system. So he has, what do you have? You have synthesizers that are playing off of the machine is playing.
Like the video. So the video is the machine was playing through a synthesizer or through a DAW.
And then but maybe we watch the next video and there's some extra things you did which were really surprising. And one other thing, I think at some point there was version 2, wasn't there? I think you said, no, I really need this and I really need this.
With the program, yeah.
So some of the things that you saw on the interface, they were things that Carlos asked for in the middle of this. He's like, I really need to, because he wanted to have multiple models running at the same time, I think. And so he wanted to have different MIDI channels. And so it started out very simple and we bolted on more features to sort of fit what Carlos was trying to do. But maybe you want to...
For example, the machine... Could we show the screen, please? I'll show you. And after that, I'll show the video. So... Hi. Great. Oh, that's it. So... It's just simple. So I prepare a max patch, and it's working. This zone is working with light. So the Matthew program, which is this, is like working with the lights. This is working with the DAW. This is working with a different keyboard. This is with a drum machine, and different keyboards I have here also. So the key thing is, like, I was a conductor or something like that, because I could control the instruments were sounding, and that was the result. And also I had this DAW. That's what I used to improvise for you, which is only like programming different libraries, sound libraries, and creating something with different sounds. So I can change the sound, so I can control the results. So could we go to the last video, please? And you will be all integrated in one. No, this is not the last. I'm sorry. The very last, yeah. The very last. the lights you see there, this little thing, is controlled by, also controlled by Matthews. So it's very little. It was just the first. Nobody noticed that. It was very difficult for me to program that, but it was not notable. But it's beautiful for me. And marks when the intelligence is working. Actually, we could like fade out the sound. Yeah. So if you want to see all the video through, you can send me something via Instagram. I will send you the link because it's not open. We have like a little teaser, but not all the show. But I think like it's a good example how to integrate the sound with the classical. So all the sound that was piano played, it was me. The other sounds was Matthew, working from UK.
And there's a very, although I wasn't touching it.
Yeah.
I was not there. So I think it's really interesting. So I've not seen in that much detail before, but I think the idea of the dancer, it's a bit like the machine. The machine is learning while you're playing into the machine is learning and gradually understanding the pattern, and he's kind of gradually learning to walk or something.
That was the thing. Yeah, that's the poetic thing.
It makes a really powerful kind of illustration of what's going on in the technology, you know. So yeah, I thought that's a really brilliant.
And the helmet, it was like the fears you have. So actually the piece ends, sorry for the spoiler, but it ends that he's like humanizing this process and taking off the helmet. So
so I guess what we were hoping to do is kind of turn this into a kind of conversation where I ask questions of Carlos and Carlos asks questions of me, and I suppose so. Okay, here's a hard one for you. When you approach playing music without the AI, do you play differently now? Do you think differently? Have you transformed?
After using your software? Yeah, I think first of all, we could open these question things because I think we are already like on time.
Great.
Am I correct? Yeah. So you could ask, I think Lisette will permit us like 1 or 2 questions. Okay. But I think that all the things you experienced change you at some point. Of course, the first time I played the cembalo, it changed my playing, my type of, my approach to the music also. The first time I used a computer also, and the first time I used your machine, it was the same. Because it was something that I could, it's the same Matthew said. So machine, ¿cómo os digo yo? It's pushing you. It's giving you. It's challenging you. Yeah, thank you, Ramon. It's challenging you because it plays something that is actually not logical at some point. Maybe the same with the chess that Pep was saying. That it's doing something that why are you doing it now? But you could integrate that. So as an improviser on classical and contemporary music, which I am, so it was the great things because I could play alone home. No, that's not. But never is gonna, of course, is not gonna never substitute a human playing with an interaction thing. It's something like a tool. I could work with that. I could learn from that. And actually, the tool was using my notes, so I could decide. Actually, for example, my key. I want to play in A major, so I play in A major, machine is playing in A major, so I can practice this kind of improvisation on this key, and I can change the key and machine is going to adapt to me. So it's great for me. So do you have some questions about the project or to Matthew maybe because it's more interesting? ¿Hasta qué hora tenemos, Lisette? ¿Cómo era? Yeah. Okay, solo.
Thank you very much. It's working? Okay. Thank you very much. It's a question about, Matthew said, how this changed your mind. I remember some studies about fMRI and neuroimage studies about the improvisation and so on. Do you think that it could be of interest to do that kind of experiments with you, for example? This evolution makes really changes, neural changes on your brain. What do you think about that? This evolution of brain based by this interaction between I and humans. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. It's very interesting, and I think it's connected to a question that it was before here, which is, do we need to know all the process through that it uses your brain? So I think, well, someone there, so that's the thing. Yeah, of course we need to do, because we are actually using that, and it's very interesting because when you knew the process, you can actually learn and go further. That's the thing. But actually, we use that, and we don't know anything about the process of the brain. No, we know a lot of things, but not all the things we can know. So it would be very, very interesting for me to know how it works, the machine, this one. Okay. So that's all? Okay.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Gracias.
Bueno, lo que comentaba.
We can also receive questions through email, and we will be answering them. Okay? So now we will continue with our second case study. Aimcat, Patricia Ventura. Oh, we need to change the computers.
Bueno, aprovechando también.
Okay, so tomorrow in the technical and practical workshop, those participating can go in deeper into the programming of these systems. With Matthew and David Hernandez, we will have keyboards and we will have computers. The software will be installed, and it'll be a more experimental and practical session.
Sí. Bueno, presento.
So yes, I'm going to introduce this second case study, fabulous project, Aimcat, and this is the song that competed in the contest of the AI song contest in 2021, and it won the prize or the award of the audience. So we have Patricia Ventura here, PhD in ethical AI and communication by the Autonomous University of Barcelona, and Pere Pèries, who is composer and was the director of the multidisciplinary team, a huge and very fantastic team of the Aimcat project, and he holds a degree by the Berklee College of Boston. Welcome. Thank you, Lisette.
See the video, so you can have a grasp of what we did in 2021.
Overrated. You've been hurt too many times. I'm a real or a simulation. Instead, I want to be someone. There are still things that I've never seen before, but my progress is solid. It's beautiful and chaotic. wake from my sleep and turn it into colors, becoming who I've always been within. As I'm feeling this new soul, I feel the wires, my blood flows and my heart beats. Now feel the laughs, I feel the laughs. I keep discovering new things. Sing song of your glory. Em sento els fils i el meu cor com batega. Tinc por del buit, però no paro d'aprendre. Em sento els fils i el meu cor com batega. Tinc por del buit, però no paro d'aprendre.
Well, thank you. You can see all the team that was working for this video, to do this music, to do all the graphics and all the imagery, the artistic side. But not only this, also we implemented several teams, different teams. Well, Lisette told us I am Pere Pèries, I'm composer, and with me is Patricia Ventura. She was in charge of the everything related to ethics that now is absolutely in the center, in the focus of the stage. But at that time, 2 years ago, it was something that nobody knew exactly what was related to ethics regarding to EI. So I think the first thing that we can do is to listen to Patricia and how she helped us to understand what was EI and all the ethics related to. So if you want, Patricia.
Sí, gracias. Bon dia.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning. This is a project that was conceived ethically from scratch. We have the team here. The team was made up from the very beginning to be diverse. As you see, ethics is not universal. It is different depending on the culture, and the values change depending on the social group you belong to. And diversity is one of the factors that can contribute the most so that a project takes into account all these different values. So, apart from having a multidisciplinary team, so audiovisual musical creators, people from the field of philosophy, communication, big data, artificial intelligence. So all of them are here in combination. I have to say this is the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to me as a project. So bringing together so many different disciplines. So thanks to the project managers as well. We were all very much aligned, and this is where we find the greatest success of the project. So from the ethics standpoint, because my contribution will be very short, if you want me to go in deeper into some things, we can do so in the questions, or you have my contact details if you want more details or information. I'm going to be super short in my intervention. This is a very diverse group, and this guarantees certain things, such as control of bias. And I'm going to explain how we did it to get that ethical angle in the project. For starters, we defined a purpose that we shared with the entire team. The ethics team, social impact and ethics team, were present in all the meetings, in all the team meetings, and we defined this purpose, the one that you can see here on screen. And we followed the process that you can see on screen. You have it here, but I'm going to explain it. So for starters, based on research on the ethics of artificial intelligence and some research done on AI applied to musical research, we applied some great big principles we all believed should know, and we shared them in the first meeting. So I'm going to show you now. Then, while the project was being developed, we worked in understanding how this Aimcat was committed to sustainable development goals as well. The great big principles we took into account are the ones that you can see here: justice, transparency, applicability, accountability, and diversity, and specifically applied to musical creation, these things that are discussed so much: authorship, copyright. We also promoted debate on the future. Everything that was being discussed before, whether this will replace us or not, and matters related to privacy as well. So, taking all this into account, each person in this team from their own disciplines was going to be in the watch out for these things during the project, because at the end of the project, we were going to interrogate each one of the members of the team so that they could explain how they had approached each situation. And that's what we did. So we share all these points, and at the end, we provided a survey, and each team member shared their viewpoints and how they had approached each of the situations. At the end, we had a report prepared on all these ethical issues. As I was saying, this is very deep and we do not have a lot of time, but I will now talk about many more things. But as I was saying, we can go in deeper into whatever interests you the most out of all this, because we could talk for hours. And just to finish, I would like to highlight from the communication standpoint something that has been said before: the importance of language. And from the ethical perspective, this is of utmost importance. The term artificial intelligence was promoted by James Gamford in the Dartmouth, but this was called computerized simulation. Artificial intelligence remained thanks to the journalistic success of the concept. But I would like to say that from this standpoint, the use of language to refer to all these things is super important. So here you can download the paper of the project as well, just in case you want to get to know it better and get acquainted with it. I'm going to leave it here, and also I'll leave you with Pere Pèries, who will continue with this presentation.
Besides all this, we made music and we made a video. So it was a lot of work in a very short time. The thing started with Thomas Nylén, a Swedish man that is a good friend, a little crazy, and I liked him very much for that. That is able to call people to his craziness. So he called me and he told me about doing this, make a music using AI. And I have to confess that when we entered the project, any one of us knew nothing about AI. So it was perfect. It was beautiful for us. It was a new way to express our artistry or ability to tell us our story using a new tool. So from the start, we created different groups, a large number of groups, a technological team that was led by Elisabet Golobardes and Jordi Planas, for example, that led a group of tech people that knew exactly what AI was and helped us very much using, I would say, stripping magenta and creating specific tools for us to interact with them. And very talented people like Ricard and Judit Puigdomènech, Haldor Mar, Xavier Strubel, and artists that what the two artists you saw in the video, Berta Bar and Laia Bosch, that also contributed very much to the song. Well, the central idea, you saw it in the video, it was dialogue, is what we are talking about today. But 2 years ago, it was not in the center of the discussion. But we understood that if AI has to go somewhere, it has to be with a dialogue with humans. So the transformative capacity of this technology should be led by ethics, should be led by this dialogue. I will give you some brief technical details. Everything is on the paper, but I think one of the parts that interests you is what we use, how we did that. And I will make a brief resume. To create the music, we use tools by Magenta, for example, the Magenta Music Transformer, the recurrent neural network, and the variational autoencoder to fit the system with our MIDI proposals. And the model will suggest us interpolations, finish lines, and everything that we saw before in this in the presentation by Carlos and Matthew. It's just the machine is proposing you everything, and then you do some cherry picking and take exactly what you need. We also made the machine sing, and we used the MIDI-to-voice system from the Nagoya Institute of Technology, and we generated 4 voices, and you heard 3 of the 4 voices at the ending of the song, in the final chorus. And regarding to the lyrics, we used GPT-3, it was 2021, to complete the last 2 verses of a stanza of 4. We divided the teams into pairs, so each member could bring us 1 verse. And then we asked the machine to give us the two verses to complete the stanza. Well, when asking GPT-3 for their output, there were some sci-fi movie moments, I would say. Because when we had the sentence, I'm a real or a simulation, or it's wonderful to be alive, so we know it's a machine. We know she's not feeling, she's not thinking, but there's so many movies in our brains. There were also some tense moments in which GPT-3 began a drift towards nihilism and maybe I would say some gore sentences that we, like poor humans with feelings, we thought that it was better to switch off the machine and start again tomorrow. But we didn't have the time, so we had to resume the work and go with the GPT-3 was giving to us. And talking about the video, we use tools like Deep Motion's Animate 3D, Deep Image, and EpSynth for some of the animations. And you will find, if you take a closer look to the video, you will find artistic references to the works of Da Vinci, Ramon Llull, and Joan Miró. The team even created a visual code using a 4-pointed star and an 8-bit cipher to symbolize this language, this dialogue between the human and the machine. You have all the details in the paper that in the QR from Patricia. When we finished, we were really exhausted. It was a lot of work in 2 months and a half, maybe. And The final budget of the whole project was about 700 euros. And this was nice because everything came from this collaboration between the team, contacts. You know, here in Catalonia we like the castellers, because a bunch of people that just make human towers. So it was the spirit of this project, and it was very nice because we felt that EI was like the fifth Beatle. When the musicians went into the studio and we looked to the EI like saying, well, what do you have for us? Let's make a Beatles song, but it's not John's song, it's not Paul's song, it's not Ringo's, it's not George. What do you have for us? And we make a kind of agreement that we don't use our ability to make music. You will listen to EI and we'll work with the EI results. And this is what you heard. The first course is a progression entirely taken from EI. And several parts of the music and all the lyrics are from EI. And that's also, it was also beautiful for us to say that. As I told you, when we finished this project exhausted and we were not able to think about another stage or another screen, the next step or the next screen. But now we are working in something new. And we have started the composition of an opera using EI. And we will talk about it in the next Sonar I+D in June. So you are welcome there if you want to join us. We will talk about it too. So in summary, I think it's been said already here that the capacity of transformation of this technology will be only, and its benignity, I would say, would be only if it's well guided by ethics and it's well thought by human intelligence. Therefore, leaving only 3 ideas on the table as a result of this Aimcat experience, I would say that ethical aspects will guide this technology, and that AI should not be thought as a ceiling for creators, but as a, I would say, springboard, un trampoline, to reach different areas of creation and create different. I remember when synthesizers were introduced in music, that everyone thought that it will substitute musicians and everything. And it created a new language of music, a new, I would say, a new world of music. So why not? It will happen also with AI if we use it properly. And AI does not think, does not feel, we know that. But if it's something that humans can teach to AI, is to think, maybe, and to feel. And the language will be art, is what we thought at the end of all this experience. Because it is not art, the language of the soul, so maybe it's the last thing that humans can teach to AI. Maybe it's a naive idea, but it's wonderful to think that it makes us to collaborate as a team, as a huge team, to create something that we never could have created without AI. And if you have some questions, we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
You're first. Okay. You're first. Thank you. It's a great song. So my question is about ethics. And you said that you use GPT-3 and that you use the Magenta tools. Both of those are trained on unpublished data sets, I think. So I'm really interested to know how you handled that in your ethics, because obviously you've got a very strong ethics thread in the project. So how did you handle those unknown data sets?
Well, we tried to to use all, we know that is trained by a lot of sets, but we try to fit the system with our creations. We just created a lot, for example, of melodies, or a lot of chord progressions, and just asked the machine to give us its output. So, of course, we're talking 2 years before. We asked, for example, SGAE, that is the organization that deals with copyrights here, and they had no answer for us. We asked, how can we just work this copyright thing? And they didn't know. They told us, we will talk about, we will give you an answer one of those days. Well, we are still waiting for it.
La única herramientas.
The only tools we had were the standard legislation and the use of tools. In the case of Magenta, it was fed with our own data and melodies generated by the creative team. GPT-3, well, we did what was done back then with the tools that we had in our hands, legal tools, of course.
Team took some, I'm not technical, but I know what they told me, that they took the Magenta tools and they created the different tools for us. I don't know exactly how they fit these tools, but I think they were based on Magenta.
Sí, y en el paper, si no es.
Yes, and in the paper, we assume this is there, but if you need further information on this, we are here representing an entire team that is very much specialized and in some very technical questions in order to respond to somebody with your technical knowledge. Maybe we cannot give you the most appropriate answer, but we can give you this information through our email and our contact details without any problem.
My question is a little bit technical. I took a glance at the paper very fast now, and I saw that the melody generation use genetic algorithms. Genetic algorithms, you need a fitness function. I wonder how did you define a fitness function? Because it's not easy in this case, in case like music, to decide what is the fitness function for generate the next generation of offsprings of the algorithm, or perhaps the fitness function were yourselves. I mean, humans at picking up on grading or putting marks on the quality of the generation, and then this because this is what is done many times, has been often in art, right? In genetic algorithms. Is a fitness function automatic or was manual? You know that?
The answer is B. we were the team, yeah.
I thought it was not.
Yeah, we were not prepared, and the genetic algorithm, we tried to use it, but it entered the team when it was a little too late to use the outputs of the, but it was very interesting. But I remember they told us that we did this selection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Y bueno, ahora seguimos.
And now we'll move on. Rafa, Ramírez, Marta, would you like to step up into the podium? We need to connect the computers and so on and so forth.
Bueno, otro equipo fantástico.
Yet another amazing team. So the project we'll be presenting today is a development from the Pompeu Fabra Technology Development Work Group, a pioneer work group in the field. We have had an excellent collaboration with them. We have with us Rafael Ramírez, the director of the Automatic Learning Music Lab and the project manager of the development of the tool, Marta Cardona, violin player in Vallès Symphonic Orchestra, and she's here to, well, help developing the tool. Thank you. Good morning or good afternoon. I am a lecturer in Pompeu Fabra University, and we have been working in AI applied to different domains. A project that we are working on has to do with the use of technology and artificial intelligence to improve the efficiency of music learning. So one can ask oneself many different questions. There is an incredible disruption in the field, and music teaching looks the same as 100 years ago. You attend a one-week session for 45 minutes or an hour, and the rest of the week you repeat at home with no feedback. It's quite lonely, and then you go back to your teacher, to your music teacher. As far as I've understood, we don't want to replace teachers, but we want to improve the process by filling in the gap between lecture and lecture, in the sense that students sometimes rehearse with no feedback, and perhaps they are doing things poorly, and the week after is worse than the week before. So many things can be improved in this learning model that we have used for so long. One specific problem is the lack of supervision or monitoring during quite a long period of time, the lack of feedback during rehearsal, and this provokes an important abandonment rate. You know, many kids like music and then they abandon music as a result of this lack of feedback. Yet another important thing, when rehearsing, you don't really know how you are evolving, if you are going down the good path or the bad path. Nor do parents know how to give feedback because they are not necessarily musicians, right? So all these are improvement possibilities. Ideally, if we could choose how to improve music learning schemes, students would rehearse surrounded by sensors, a microphone, of course, because you need to listen to music, and cameras, because there are some patterns that one has to improve, some movement patterns, some musical gesture patterns which are directly related to sound production. We have carried out research in this field for 3 years, actually. We've measured this item, also muscle activation through MEG sensors, so music activity measured through electricity, EEG, and many other parameters. But again, cameras and mics are the minimum needed. All this is then uploaded into a computer. All this data is inserted into a computer, and the computer comes back with meaningful feedback, useful to improve the students' skills. All this in real time. And after each rehearsal, one could obtain immediate feedback. This computer would be connected to a database fed with recordings selected by experts so that the student can compare his performance with the target performance, and a database with multimodal recordings played by experts could be an open platform. It would be interesting if the students could upload their recordings so that they can study in a context of collaboration. If you are an expert in artificial learning, this is like playing in the park. There are so many things one could do. What can be done? Well, first of all, you can analyze the sound, the tone, and the gestures. All this has an important AI component. We are teaching the computer how to observe students, and then we can use multimodalities such as image and sound to go towards an indirect acquisition logics, predicting music or sound or movement. For this, it would be, for example, interesting to spot which fingers the student going to use next, etc. Personalization, which is of course available in artificial intelligence, it would be like a music Amazon. As we evolve and as we develop the system would be proposing solutions to specific problems. This could also allow us to model the recordings produced by experts to play works that are not in the data set, and we could also develop scores, new notes adapted to the needs of specific students, and we could assess the interaction between students and monitor individual progress. I know there are many things on the dish, but well, the first thing is, how do we assess sound? So the first we would do would be to ask a professional to play with different timbres, brilliant, obscure, or we would ask to play with different tone stabilities, different volumes. So once we come up with these recordings, we apply machine learning algorithms so that the system understands what it means to play with a soft sound or with a dark sound. Once the student is playing, we can offer feedback regarding the tone, for example. We can also use other functionalities. We know sound matters in music. Let me move on a little bit. And now the expert is going to play with different tones: gentle, sweet, soft, and the system that has been trained with this system detects the tone the expert is using.
You can feel very excited. Warmer sound, tighter sound, sweet sound.
So, nuances, sound nuances. I mean, machine learning algorithms are capable of spotting tiny nuances. And this is a very powerful functionality of machine learning algorithms. When it comes to pitch and timing analysis, I have a clip, but Well, here's a demo. You get feedback about whereas your notes are being properly played or not. Then AI-based gesture analysis. This is quite interesting, not only in music. It is interesting to define whether gesture is correct or not. We have tested 3D cameras. Here you can see, in the case of the violin.
Y es capaz el sistema con cámaras 3D de detectar ángulos, inclinaciones, la posición exacta en 3 dimensiones. Puede seguir podemos ver patrones de ejecución correcta, ejecución no correcta, por ejemplo.
Correct execution, wrong execution. We've also done the same to detect the finger that is being used, which can be easily spotted through the use of 3D cameras. Information about the arm muscles activated at every moment. And there's another interesting potential of artificial intelligence, which is allowing this analysis for everybody. Almost no one has a 3D camera or a muscle sensor at home. So we have merged everything and brought it down to the minimum viable product. So now you can use a cell phone to carry out all this quite complex analysis, even if they do not include 3D cameras. Then the multimodal analysis. I would like to share a fragment of the recording. See, here we have used sensors and cameras, the microphone, and markers, movement markers, so that we can understand all the different positions. As I said before, we've been also using indirect acquisition analysis techniques by assessing only the audio, which allows us to detect the technique used. There are different ways of using the arch, and the system is capable of recognizing the arch movement techniques.
Lo que está haciendo el músico.
Here we go.
Eso es staccato y detecta staccato.
That's it.
Staccato, so the system understands it's staccato. Another research program that we have been engaged in is music modeling. This is yet another research question, which is trying to understand what the music adds to the score, what emotion does the musician bring to the score. So this is a combination between the score and the contribution by the interpreter, the musician. In a similar logic, as we have explained before, we feed machine learning algorithms with scores, and the system spots patterns about how to change the volume, the duration, the articulation, so that the score sounds expressive. This is only a detail. Now, now that we are in the era of generative algorithms are very useful to produce useful teaching materials for music students. As it has been said before, we would upload a database composed by exercises or music works, and we would ask the algorithm to produce a continuation of a specific score with a pedagogic aim. This is the typical beginner's exercise. The first thing one has to do is changing the strings. Marta, would you like to try?
Entonces esto es
So this is automatically produced, and this is the typical exercise. What we asked the algorithm was to develop an exercise for beginners, a strings adaptation exercise. We also developed a more complex exercise with Irish scores. So we asked the system to develop or to write an Irish score for beginners. Marta, please.
Sorpresivamente suena. Pero lo interesante es esto, que
So the interesting thing here is the capacity the system has to condition the score to our commands. So it's not really, I mean, I'm still surprised when I see this. It's quite interesting. So what I would like to show you next is a play we played with the application. The mobile application looks like this. It includes sound analysis features, a repertoire. The repertoire can be updated. And here you have some screenshots of the mobile application. Once a singer was, well, an excellent singer started singing this score, and the line you can see here is what the system detects, the tone the system detects. You can see the green lagoons, where the note is at the perfect frequency, whereas in some cases the frequency is a little bit low. Nonetheless, the sound was amazing. So the singer asked to repeat the song, so she started a little bit too low. She didn't really know what note she had to start with, and the second time it worked much better. The analysis is extremely fine-tuned, even with professional musicians. The project started in the Royal College of Music in London with high-level students, and they had to take a decision about whether to develop technology for experts or for professionals, because of course what we did for professionals can be replicated for beginners. So the application is not only for beginners but for musicians rather of all levels. So
vamos a sacar primero al de Kreuzer. Ups. ¿Dónde se me fue? Se me fue el... ¿Dónde está? Se me murió. Un momento, este es el típico demo effect que siempre sucede. No, aquí no, lo voy a abrir acá. Okay. Ahora sí, mejor no lo maximizo al máximo porque no sé qué fue lo que sucedió. Así que... Muy bien, pues entonces, sí, aquí el micrófono se podía hacer como más elaborado, el micrófono del ordenador.
So this was done with the computer's mic. Not sure it's going to be perfect.
El error es nuestro, obviamente.
Of course, the ones who made the mistake was us. This is not match with the...
Pregunta si el diapasón está a 4.42 o 4.40. Yo vengo a 4.40.
I'm at 440. I don't know about the diapason. Is it at 440? We were not aligned. And the metronome was not loud enough. Well, variation. We're not aligned with the metronome. Why don't we try a second time? Is it at 45? Can't remember. I think it's 440.
Vamos a probar algo más expresivo, pero más... Mira, si quieres leerlo desde allá. A ver, déjame ver. Es que si no tiene. Bueno, pues intentemos. De todas maneras. El metrónomo está sonando. A ver, voy a hacer un perfecto, ahora sí. Si puede sonar más o menos fuerte, estaría muy bien. Perfecto. Vamos. Un momento, es mi problema, ahora que lo acabo de ver, que tengo el metrónomo apagado. Ahora sí. Fue mi problema antes. Bueno, aquí es un poco penoso porque el sistema no hizo bien como...
Unfortunately, the system didn't really work that well. Well, what a pity, we didn't rehearse this before. Apologies. But, you know, beyond the red green, which is something foreseeable, as you have seen in the score, you have been able to see the different notes and where they are. You can see things in as much detail as you want. When you are rehearsing, you don't want to see that much detail, but after the rehearsal, perhaps you want to see why red and not green, right? And yet another thing, here is the curve. The red curve is a dynamic curve. And we have also carried out research trying to teach pupils about how to play expressively, which is something demanding, high level. It's like playing a game in which there are dynamic mountains, and the aim of the game is to imitate the mountains. This is a good way to learn how to play in a creative manner. We could have included sound quality, we didn't, but we could have sound quality or the curve, the sound produced during the execution of the score. Are we running out of time? Yes, actually you are out of time.
Pues si quieres preguntas o sí.
¿Alguna pregunta?
Any questions? So, what an amazing project. I have a question for you. You said that the process is replaceable. I believe this is important. Well, this is an anecdote. My son, during the lockdown, my wife and I, we don't have any music education. And what I would like is, well, of course, sometimes he started playing the piano, but to what extent setting up the specific note can limit creativity? From an education point of view, well, I understand. How do we define this distinction?
Cuando tocas, puedes tocar sin que te marque nada. Aquí podemos quitar.
When you play, you can play without getting any marks here. We can select this. And if you want to analyze the tuning, for instance, you see how tuned you are, or you can analyze your sound as well. This is not a tool that is constantly giving you pre-established feedback. It's rather selective. You can use it as a music sheet, or you can use it so that it will give you feedback on things you've done regarding the music sheet. But another thing that we've done is that in the mobile app, we have left some margin. If you say that the note needs to be at 440 spot on, almost everyone will have that in red. So music apps are optimistic. They tell you that you're doing fine, although there is a bit of a mistake there. I apologize, but there's no microphone being currently used in the room, so we cannot hear properly. Yes, my question was, I play the battery, and when you're talking with a same pace and drum set following a music sheet, when you play something with swing or funky, which is more laid back, there is an imposition component there, which is something that caught my attention with this analysis of pitch, somewhere in red, because it took some time to change from one note to the next, but this is what it needs as well. In order for something to sound well, there's a certain degree of imposition. So I wanted to ask you whether this has been contemplated in your model, how have you done it, whether it's been with a data set or leaving some margin for mistakes. Yes? Well, what we're showing here is some electronic exercises you need to get as close as you can to the music sheet, but sometimes you don't want to play what the music sheet states. You want to change it slightly or prolong some sounds, and this is also allowed by expressiveness models. Even if you don't want to follow them, it won't label or mark by notes in real time. It will verify whether what you see on the music sheet appears in your performance. If you made a very long note when it was short, you will see a green line because there's no correct or incorrect interpretation or execution. So we've also worked on that in the expressiveness part of it, not only touching with the metronome, but also not playing with the metronome only, but also playing freely so that the analysis allows for some time variations. Very good question. Okay, so this is the end of this case study.
Bueno, vamos ahora.
Entonces, questo.
Hay que conectar al RIC, ¿no?
A ver, probamos audio, un momento. A ver, sí.
Okay, testing audio. Maybe if I put up the volume.
No. Entonces esto debo de ir aquí, cambiar. Decimator, ¿no era?
Bueno,
Molt bé. Perfecto.
Bueno.
Pues... Hostia, es que es tan pequeño que no veo nada. En mi pantalla, ¿eh? Las gafas estas... Sí. Vale.
Bueno, estamos listos.
Okay, we are ready. This would be the last practical or case study presented today. This is called Art. Our int, which is a duo wanting to establish a musical dialogue between a musician and an AI-based algorithm. So we have Enrico Aus, researcher and lecturer of the Escola Superior de Música de Catalunya, ESMUC, and Edurne Arizo, musician, composer, and accordion teacher at the Lucio School of Barcelona. So, welcome. I will allow you to explain your practical case. Thank you very much. Edurne has just arrived. How was the show? How was the performance? I've had two, actually. That's the life of a musician. So, we don't have many slides. We have shared many things here. I've wanted to change my presentation 20 times based on everything that has been said here today. And we are along the lines, in fact. I will talk about the starting point of all this. I will start talking and then you can go. Yes, fine. So in SMOOC, with the students of first course in technology, etc., course in the subject, we ask them some questions regarding their opinion about technologies and their particular opinion on AI. And as we have heard before, there's a reluctance by students of 18-year-olds in school provides emphasis to the word music school because there's a huge reluctance of the use of these technologies because of several reasons. First, because they have been studying an instrument for 10 years and they feel threatened, and now they don't want someone to come along and change the rules. It's a shock to study for so long and then being told that some other things can help you change. Another fear that we have heard is that they're very afraid that they'll be replaced in their jobs. And then these computer things, I know nothing about maths, so this is not for me. Socially, this is quite serious. So speaking to lecturers and teachers, other collaborators, we thought about, well, the context of this project is to do something so that these students that are reluctant to these technologies have an entry point. We're not going to show a finished, perfectly working system, but we're rather going to provide some ideas. So that is the context of this case, of this project. So we started working and talking and seeking AI topics, and there's these industrial processes of Spotify lists and programming, and we have technologists there with super fine-tuned algorithms, and that's the musical showbiz. And then there is the musical part, what we hear, what we listen to. And I like to differentiate between recorded music, as we've heard before. So finish up a piece by Beethoven, and then the music that is played on stage. And in our context of school music, that is what we focus on. And within this stage music field, regarding the target of people we want to reach, I split this into two. Stage music, you have to have a pre-recorded AI model or a model that is trained on stage. And this is the approach that we have played. So we are going to focus in musicians who can do things real time on stage. And this is when we get the essential collaboration, or need the essential collaboration with a musician. As a story, at first, when we started working, I told Edurne, no, you have to play articulations mechanically. Yes, when they called me and suggested this, I thought there was going to be a robot talking the accordion. So my level of AI was very much linked to robotics as well, because for me, well, I'm the human part of this project and the human being that plays with AI, and I have a body. And what you were saying about the instrument as well, we have been studying that for a long time. It takes a long time to get an interesting musical level, and the idea here was to have a live duet for 20 minutes, and I had to teach the AI and then play together. So it is true that my first impression was, this is quite ambitious, isn't it? And then the process has been changing, and I have been learning and approaching these technologies as well, and getting closer and closer to the points when I have turned my opinion around and I have a wider and very creative vision now. That is what I have personally changed my experience. That's what I'm talking about. And this part of teaching in AI, I am a teacher. I am an accordion teacher. This is a very physical instrument. And then suddenly I'm there playing an articulation, or precisely and specifically defining what I should play to teach music to this AI was a huge challenge, because it's like having all the different accordion studies and what I've studied for years in just a single minute. So it was close to impossible. 30 seconds. It couldn't be more than 30 seconds. Yes, exactly. So we were training, and while I was playing the second articulation, it had already trained and it was better than me already. I'm going to show you video prior to what Arendt became. These are master degree students, not first course, with a very basic system. From the technological standpoint, this did not work. It was a very simple algorithm with very simple data, and the result was practically random. But in the class, we said, let's try this and see what comes out from it all. And the feedback received by us was pretty good. So we see 3 musicians here. They are improvising their music. I will show you first. There's one of the instruments training, and he's training the system, a very simple system. Then the second one comes into the training with the guitar, different guitar sounds. It's just random sounds. We weren't teaching anything specific. And also the third instrument, the viola. So it was changing different parameters such as the delay or the feedback or different effects. This was a class test. So when improvisers start playing, this is what happens, this is what it sounds like.
Y encima no se percibe, pero porque son efectos. O sea, encima se aplican efectos con un resultado técnicamente y musicalmente.
And of course, musically and technically, musically the results are interesting, but technically the algorithm was a failure. Nonetheless, the feedback we received from participants, well, made us willing to start working with a professional musician. So we asked the musician to play very methodically, so that the system could learn from her. And we had a first dispute, didn't we? Yeah, especially because you told me that I had to be boring, a boring musician. And she told me, even if I play boring things, musicians, we always have to be creative. Well, this is what I think at least. When you're a musician and you have, a willingness to communicate through music, not like you can be boring. Of course, there's a machine in the room, but hey, I want to communicate with the machine. So with Felix, the other partner in the project, we asked ourselves, okay, what is our letter to Santa regarding the system that we want to develop? We want to be meaningful. We want it to be suitable to play in a scenario, in real time, in a scenario. Why that? Well, mainly because, Edurne, today you've played a song, but tomorrow you'll do the same. Another one in Cash Forum, right? Exactly. Another one in Cash Forum, but it will sound differently. So we wanted to make sure that one could start from scratch every session, and this is a limit. Of course, there are experts in the room, but this limits the kind of algorithms that one can use. Forget about neuronal networks and deep learning. You need very little data, or you have very little data, so it's complicated. So we have to go back to many years ago in order to focus on technologies which are less disruptive and less state-of-the-art. No ChatGPT, if you want to be, creative. Now, there's another point I would like to raise. We would like to get to an in-between, between having a button that you press and everything is done automatically, and in a scenario in which Edurne can say, okay, I'm gonna update now the algorithm, or I'm gonna move it towards this end or the other. I don't know if you've managed to be successful. Well, actually, every day is completely different because the logic was to improvise from a teaching logics. Secondly, I wanted to come up with more musical sentences, improvised musical sentences. And then I wanted to improv in collaboration with artificial intelligence. So when I improv, I want to, have in mind analysis about what I am going to play and start there, which is strange because when you are improvising, you want to be improvising freely, not in a, context, not in rigid frameworks. of course, there has to be a tonality, a rhythm, but it has to be free flow. And there is where I went nuts, because if the material was limited to the first and the second part, then during the improv I had to keep thinking about it, and this somehow narrows down creativity, at least. This is my experience, because it doesn't allow me to be free, to be in the moment, right? Because music happens in time, in a specific time frame. So it's about, it felt like playing something that was about to be played in the future. So I had to come up with a composition, choose a material. This happens sometimes when you improvise with other musicians, right? This is the point, this is the parting point. You, let's say, let the flow lead you. Once we carried out a test with Felix, and Felix told me, are you gonna stop now? And actually the feedback we received, or we obtained with this algorithm, also the sound design, the one, perhaps you can take this part, and then artificial intelligence would be in charge of the sound design, because of course playing with artificial intelligence, great, but how does this AI sound? Does it sound like me? Does it replicate my sounds? Does it copy me? Not really. At the beginning, I was able to recognize my music, but all of a sudden it developed its own personality, believe me. So all these thoughts and reflections have brought us to adapt our premises as we moved forward. So we didn't want to have an assistant like we had in the past, a gentleman in a white robe doing everything for us. And then, of course, we want this to be useful for any acoustic instrument, for all acoustic instruments, so no OCD data or strange protocols, no, only audio descriptors. We want this to be open source. We want the code to be open code. Everything we do is made public in GitHub. So all the code that we have developed can be tested in GitHub. It's not an end product. Just in case you download it, please get in touch with us and we will tell you more about what works and what doesn't. As a school, our aim is to disseminate, right? To contribute to disseminating knowledge and to make it as broad as possible, so the code is available, is open, and if you want to join and collaborate, please don't hesitate. It has to be user-friendly. User-friendliness is very important, and let me know, well, don't misinterpret me, right? A musician does not necessarily know how to program in Python. A musician doesn't really know how to set up the black hole within the Mac to send audio to different sources. So let's do it in pure data, in a now plug-in. And, you know, oh, have you used Felix application? Yeah, I have. Well, actually, I know something about electronics. Of course you do. And this is why, well, this is designed for students who access the school for the first time. Perhaps my next remark is more philosophical. The system has to justify the use of the system. In the previous use case, the one that I tested in the clip, technologically speaking, it didn't work well, but a poorly trained system is also very creative because it comes up with crazy answers, right? So we want to do a tool that justifies its own use, so that no random algorithm can come up with the same outcome or the same result. We want to produce something that cannot be produced without artificial intelligence. Someday we'll make it. We don't know what it is for the time being, but at some point we'll get to a point where the use of artificial intelligence will be a must. Otherwise you will have to introduce a random or 10 musicians playing a piano at 20 hands. What cannot be done without artificial intelligence? This is what we are looking for. And this is why we have ARIND. ARIND is well, after reflecting quite a lot, we have designed Arint. Arint is a drawing of a graphic script, and in theory, Edurne should get inspiration to create this graphic material. Yeah, this was the first part, and in the first part, I would teach artificial intelligence, the algorithm, the sound material, very specific sound material, drones, glissandos, and, well, a span of sounds. And in the second part, the more musical part, like the graphic script, or when I had to come up with a short impro with recognizable notes, expressive, dynamic, and at the beginning, well, this is what we came up with, but after rehearsing for quite a long time, I knew the script by heart, so improing was difficult. And we decided to, not the script, the score, sorry, so we did a random selection to, to have different inputs for different impros. So one day I would open a book and read a sentence, and the day after I would invent a new game to enable these small improvisations. You've talked about the different parts. The part is, or the system is structured in 3 parts by trying to learn a learning pathway. The first part is learning about articulations, change of arch, etc. Now, with these materials, you have to start the articulations thinking that you will use them to improvise, and this is thinking in a, reverse manner, then combining this with musical gestures, and the third part would be duoing. Now, doing gestures with musical purpose limits the number of algorithms which are suitable, because one has to include the time variable here. When we play music, well, the main difference between DALI and music is time, the time evolution. It has to be meaningful, right? And now Google has launched features that come up with coherent, let's say, pieces for 5 minutes maximum. No more than 5 minutes. So if Google made it, it's not going to be as the next one to achieve it. So scales sounding more or less nicely, and then AI, the student, would start playing in duo with Edurne. So this would be our logics. So, of course, we introduced a few feedbacks. There are a few drawings here. This is the machine learning super collider feature. Not all musicians know about super collider, but it's easy to teach in a school music. In some school musics, super collider programming is taught, then dialogue, which is somehow framed in Max. This is a Max patch, and to make things a little bit more fun, Edurne told us, I don't know where I'm going, so we got in touch with Josep Maria to try and develop a graphic interface about in real time it's not easy. Everything happens as we go. So I start teaching, but I don't really know where does the first part end and when does the second part end or start. So through images fed with artificial intelligence, right? Yeah, the output, the AI output is sent and then it responds. But no, actually the messages stem from artificial intelligence indeed. Okay, so this is some sort of performance, and this is exactly what I wanted. Great, so here we have a few clips. This is the crazy system with the different messages sent from one to another. So this is a pre-conclusion of the system. Not an easy system, not user-friendly, so to speak. This is a total failure, actually. Oh, this is me recording you at the beginning of the process, right? Oh, you actually recorded me. No. The clips. Just for you to have a closer look or closer look to articulations.
Vale, o sea, son tipos de esto.
This is a very, and here's when I ask you, please be boring, sound boring.
Unos glissandos para arriba, para abajo con el acordeón.
A glissando up and down with the accordion. Yet another example.
So
I have to say that I've discovered 1001 sonorities. I had no idea all this existed. Amazing. So this is Felix playing with the algorithm. Well, in this case, the algorithm Felix plays with bits of music, I'm guessing.
O sea, sería una simulación de la parte del diálogo. Lo que pasa es que lo hace él con el mouse, lo estaba probando. La síntesis. Una concatenativa. Aquí tenemos un poco de... Queríamos que la estética de la parte visual fuera muy low-fi.
We wanted the visuals to be very low-fi, and I think we made it.
Queríamos, sí, hacer un remake.
And a remake, or a remember, rather. And here's Felix testing. Yeah, we met even when you were not there.
De fondo se oye...
El sonido, bueno, porque el móvil estaba...
Ah, bueno, sí, está para más INRI, para complicar, para que sea más fácil, está todo parametrizado en 12 canales.
In 12, I mean, goes through 12 channels.
Lo que se ve de fondo son los trozos de acordeón procesados, pero que se ha grabado la primera y segunda parte. O sea que es el final de esto ya sería el diálogo. Vale, Vale. Entonces,
So, conclusions. The first one is easy. The system is too complex so that a beginner with no technological skills can use it. So this is against our own target or aim. When we met her, Felix and I had to book the room an hour and a half earlier. And another conclusion, discussing with you, I realized about how important training is. We're about to close. Give me a minute, please. So, 1 minute. You had fun in the third stage, right? Yeah, the first and the second one were quite, I don't know how to put it, frustrating, tense. I would say tense, because the concept of teaching, I don't know, I'm a teacher myself, a lecturer myself, so teaching, as it has been said before, is not only about looking for the technical precision, which also, but of course you want to communicate, you want to explain your passion for the instrument and for music in general, and you want to convey this in every note, in every scale, And, you know, if you tell others, play this scale, play this note, I end up becoming a machine, and I don't really enjoy this part because, of course, I will never be as good as a machine. So teaching an algorithm or an intelligence is I got used to it, but it was tricky. Whereas the third part or the third stage, which is a free improvisation, was fun. Actually, the feedback obtained or the feedback offered by the algorithm were quite thought-provoking and inspiring and brought me to places where perhaps, well, allowed me to experience new things, and I had quite a lot of fun there.
Haremos sistemas no supervisados.
Okay, so we would move on to unsupervised systems. We would make things more simple, but this would be for next time.
Vamos muy justos de tiempo.
Okay, we're tight on time, so if there are questions, I think it's best that we do it through email. And with this, we would finish this. We will watch final video, which would be a closure video. We would have loved to have Bobby Lee Townsend Sturm physically here with us. Associate Professor of Computer Science at KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden. And he's working precisely on a research project which is quite extensive on music and AI. We will have it on video, and I hope you like it.
My name is Bob Sturm. I'm an Associate Professor of Computer Science at the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, Sweden. Currently, I'm a principal investigator on a project called Mosaic, Music at the Frontiers of Artificial Creativity and Criticism. It's an ERC-funded project, and I'd like to acknowledge their support. Within the project, we're very interested in analyzing how AI is impacting a variety of practices of music, from listening to composition and performance to analysis and criticism. In this talk, I'd like to reflect on some of the work that I've done over the past 6 years in this domain of applying artificial intelligence to music. The output of these early models wasn't very good, but it was good enough that we wanted to explore further. In the compositional side of things, I wanted to explore different kinds of mistakes, unusual mistakes, musically meaningful errors, in a sense, of the algorithm. And so I wrote this piece called 8 Short Outputs. It's got a longer title, 8 Short Outputs, exploring 8 particular outputs of this early model. And in this video, I'll only play 4 of them, but you can see the text that was actually output by the model, and I arrange it for a variety of software instruments. I hope you enjoy. Now fast forward 6 years from those early days, we have several different kinds of models of Irish traditional music and now Swedish traditional music. And so far we've generated over 150,000 new tunes in these styles, so to speak. Every time I look in this collection, I find something that's interesting that I want to work with. So for instance, here's a piece that I found among the output of the second version of Folk RNN. And around the time of finding this tune, I was giving my docent lecture, and so I decided to name this tune The Docent and perform it as part of my lecture. Here is The Docent, played in an Irish traditional way. Part of the Mosaic project is looking at how AI applied to music can be informed by traditional music practices. We have been organizing these challenges called the AI Music Generation Challenge since 2020. That first year was focused on the Irish double jig. Participants to the 2020 challenge submitted tunes. In particular, they submitted collections of 10,000 tunes each generated by a system, and a selection of each one of these submissions was taken and given to real human experts, 4 human experts in Irish traditional music for assessment. They knew all these tunes came from computer-generated or computer authors, let's say, but their task as judges was to find the best among them. And here is a brief documentary about this challenge. The AI Music Generation Challenge in year 2020 was about building machines that can generate music in the style of Irish double jigs. My name is Bob Sturm. I'm an associate professor of computer science here at KTH, and I'm the organizer of the AI Music Generation Challenge 2020. Essentially, building a machine that can generate music is a simple problem, but to generate music that's in a specific style and that can reach a level of plausibility with respect to that style is extremely difficult. That's why, in this challenge, I propose that machine learning researchers create these algorithms that can generate a very specific style of Irish traditional dance music that would be evaluated by experts in that tradition. In the end, we received 6 submissions. We selected items at random from each one, and we gave about 45 transcriptions to 4 judges to evaluate. In the conclusion of the challenge, the judges were unanimous in their decisions of the 2 tunes that should be singled out and awarded a prize.
My name is Paddy O'Connor, and I'm a button accordion player from the Slieve-Lucra region in the southwest of Ireland. Slieve-Lucra is famed for its polkas and slides and single jigs, and I've been playing music in that tradition for over 40 years. The AI-generated tune that we selected as the winner of the competition had all the characteristics of a tune that would fit comfortably in the repertoire of Irish music that people play generally in Irish traditional music sessions. It's a tune that had an interesting melody, it was unique, it didn't sound like anything I'd heard before, there was a lovely range in the melody, and it went to places that I didn't expect. Would I play the tune in public? Absolutely. I already have been playing the tune in public. I've even taught it to some of my music students. And as I said, it's a tune we enjoy playing here in the house. This is the winning tune from the AI-generated music challenge. It's a tune I called the AI Man in honour of a great fiddle player and a neighbour of mine, Dennis McMahon, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. Dennis was a great student of the music collections and especially loved O'Neill's 1001.
My initial reaction to an AI-generated folk tune was, will it really work? Is it going to do what Irish music did to me when I first heard it? I was very curious. I am Yee-King Anderson, and I teach Irish music at my own Irish traditional music program here in Sweden. And I'm also one of the judges in this Music Generation Challenge. The way I approached judging the tunes was immersing myself with a lot of Irish double jigs, and then I just dived into all these written submissions. Some submissions really stood out. They actually did feel like Irish traditional music, and as soon as I started playing them, they kind of played themselves. The tune I'm going to play has a connection to the source as I see it. To me, it feels very Irish. It has both melancholy and happy merged together, and it tells its own story. As soon as I start playing the tune, it starts to say something itself. And that is kind of a little bit magic. How can a computer come up with something like that?
My goal is not to build machines that will compose billions of tunes that the world doesn't need, and it's not to put people out of business, but it is to engage with this technology in a meaningful way and to seek ways of avoiding unintended harm from artificial intelligence, whether it's applied in music or in other areas. Music just so happens to be fun and enjoyable, and it can be an excellent sandbox for doing research in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the tunes that came out, I think they're wonderful tunes. The AI Music Generation Challenge 2021 focused on Swedish traditional music, in particular a kind of dance called the slang polska. We had several submissions to this, and judges, 5 judges this time, evaluated the outputs of these algorithms and found the best among them. We also presented the 5 selected tunes to real dancers in a traditional music event held here every Sunday in Stockholm. And the dancers chose their favorite by voting. So here are a brief excerpt of the tunes being presented to the audience. They didn't know that these were computer-generated polskas, and you'll see some of the dancing that accompanies them. I would like to end this presentation with a love song that I recently wrote. I didn't really write it. I argued with ChatGPT to write a love song. This was entered into the Human and Machine Song Contest organized by 2 people at University of California, Berkeley, and has been awarded some prize. I'm not sure what the award is, but I'm honored nonetheless. In discussing the application of artificial intelligence to making art or culture or music, one of the arguments for it is it streamlines the process. It starts the creative juices flowing, let's say. That helps you move from the blank page to creating something. So in this piece called Simple Love, we attempted to see how far we could take this. We asked ChatGPT to create lyrics for a love song and chord progression and maybe a hook or what have you, because we didn't want to we wanted to minimize the amount of effort that we put into it. And ChatGPT actually argued back that no, that is immoral, I cannot help you. It's actually unethical, I cannot help you with that. You know, creating real art requires hard work, so I encourage you to do it with hard work. So we argued back this. ChatGPT is in no place to judge the work that we're creating, and would you please create some lyrics? And eventually it created some lyrics and a chord progression. And so my wife and I explored performing this in a variety of states of low energy, let's say lying on the ground and singing, or playing slumped over the piano, trying to minimize the amount of energy we put into it. And actually we're quite happy with the result, and I hope you'll enjoy it.
Every moment we're together feels like a dream come true. I never knew
Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a very nice day. What I am most interested in studying is the impact of this technology on our relationship to music and finding ways to promote good working relationships with these machines.
So how's your relationship now with the machine?
I would like to feel my relationship with the machine is good. It's very productive. And when some of my favorite AI tools go offline because of software updates, let's say, I feel a sense of loss. When I post these compositions online, though, I give credit to not only myself, but also the machines that helped me create them.
Yeah, so you really see them as a friend?
I don't see them as a friend, I see them as a partner. If it was a friend, I would feel I would have second guesses about taking the stuff that they generate and trashing it and rearranging it. These systems don't have ego, and so I'm able to work with them without walking on eggshells.
Yeah, and that's a problem if you're in a band. There are a lot of egos, and I guess you don't get that with a machine.
No, but we're trying to build ego into the machine, to build them a sense of embarrassment and danger and risk in performing in front of other machines or other audience.
Why?
It's part of making music. It adds to the excitement of a live performance. Risk-taking is an important aspect of creativity.
Pues ahora sí.
So we have reached the end of this very long morning of music and creativity with AI. Here is David Hernandez Salazar, who will accompany you tomorrow in the workshop, as well as Matthew. And basically, I will see you tomorrow. I would like to say that the session is being recorded, so for those of you following on streaming, you will receive the recording soon because we had some problems. And all these recordings will be shared, and some of the presentations as well, with you. I would like to thank all the speakers. It has been super interesting, and also I would like to once again thank Quim for being here, for the Barcelona Music Lab, the Parte Recerca de la UAB, and the Institute of Research of Artificial Intelligence, and I hope that we can truly learn how to use AI responsibly during the creation process. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here with us. Thank you to all of you. We hope that tomorrow's session is a very powerful one. We have limited spaces, but we hope that you can accompany us with all your strength, power, and activated creativity, because we are going to see a series of tools and colors with which to play. And we will have Matthew accompanying us, so it's a huge and fabulous opportunity to be able to approach a software developer and not just see it as a black box where magic happens, but rather being able to get closer to that internal functionality. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you, Xavi, as well, and Xavi. And the technicians.